Imagine a civilization so incredibly advanced, it feels like it was plucked from the future and dropped right into our distant past. Today, we're diving deep into the amazing story of Mohenjo-Daro, a lost metropolis that literally forced us to rewrite the history of the ancient world. So let me start with a question. What if a city that was bigger and, in a lot of ways, way more sophisticated than anything in Egypt or Mesopotamia, just vanished? And then just sat there silently under the earth for 4,500 years. Our story kicks off like a great detective novel. It's 1922, and archaeologist R.D. Banerjee is on a hunting trip and just happens to stumble upon a strange tool. That one little discovery leads his team to start digging, and pretty soon they're unearthing these really unique seals with a script nobody's ever seen before. Now, get this, the head of archaeology, a guy named John Marshall, he recognizes them right away. Why? Because he'd seen the exact same kind of seals from another site 600 kilometers away. And just like that, all the pieces clicked into place, revealing not just one lost city, but an entire forgotten civilization. And what they found wasn't just another ancient ruin. Oh no, this was a masterpiece of urban planning. A city that was, in so many ways, thousands of years ahead of its time. To give you a sense of the scale here, just think about this. The Indus Valley civilization was home to an estimated 5 million people. That's more than the populations of ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia combined. Yeah, this was no small, isolated culture. This was a true superpower of the Bronze Age. The absolute genius of Mohenjo-Daro is written right into its layout. It was a perfectly planned grid, with wide, straight streets running north to south. It had this distinct upper city, a citadel, for all the important public buildings, kind of like a modern civic center. And what's really remarkable is that the entire city was built on these huge raised platforms. That was a deliberate engineering choice, designed to protect it from the river's yearly floods. So clever. And this chart right here really shows you just how far ahead they were. Let's talk sanitation. While other major civilizations had open gutters in the streets, Mohenjo-Daro had a sophisticated, covered sewer system that connected to individual homes. They even had manholes for maintenance. This wasn't just about convenience. It tells you this was a society that really valued public health and civic order on a level that, honestly, you wouldn't see again for thousands of years. But their brilliance wasn't just limited to city planning. Let's zoom in on their engineering marvels. And we're going to focus on one structure that just shows off their incredible skill, the Great Bath. Now, this wasn't just some simple pool. The Great Bath could hold 2,100 liters of water, making it the world's oldest known public water tank. But the real marvel here isn't just its size. It's the fact that after nearly 5,000 years, it is still watertight. Mind-blowing. So how on earth did they do that? Well, it was a pretty sophisticated three-step process. First, they used precisely fitted baked bricks to build the structure. Then, they slapped on a thick layer of gypsum mortar to seal all the gaps. But the final genius touch was a layer of natural bitumen, which is basically tar, creating a perfect, lasting, waterproof seal. I mean, that is high-level engineering that would be right at home today. Okay, but a city is so much more than just bricks and drains, right? So let's take a look at the actual people who called this metropolis home through the amazing objects they left behind. This little guy is probably the most famous face from the Indus Valley. We call him the Priest King, but you should know, that's just a modern nickname. Was he a ruler, a spiritual leader, a nobleman? The truth is, we just don't know. He's only 6 inches tall, but this tiny statue holds one of the city's biggest mysteries. The other artifacts they left behind paint this vivid picture of a really skilled and prosperous society. I mean, they mass-produced standardized bricks, they crafted bronze mirrors, they wore intricate jewelry, and they even made toys for their kids like little balls and spinning tops. And their innovation was just off the charts. They were growing and weaving cotton 2,000 years before the Egyptians even knew it existed. And here's the thing, this talented civilization wasn't just sitting there in isolation, not even close. They were a major player on the world stage, a real hub of international commerce. And we can see just how sophisticated their economy was from the evidence. Archaeologists have found tons of these incredibly precise little stone weights. This standardized system, used consistently across 1 million square kilometers, is solid proof they had a regulated, complex economy built for big-time trade. It suggests a society built on fairness and trust. And they traded far and wide. We know for a fact they had a really strong trade relationship with Mesopotamia, that's modern-day Iraq. They were exporting all sorts of valuable goods, like timber, a semi-precious stone called carnelian, and ivory. And we know this not just from digging up artifacts, but from the actual written records of their trading partners. In fact, we have this incredible piece of proof from a Mesopotamian king, Sargon of Akkad. He wrote about the ships from Meluhha, which is what they called the Indus Valley, bringing all sorts of exotic goods to his kingdom. I mean, that's a direct written testament to their global reach from over 4,000 years ago. So, okay, we have this advanced, prosperous, globally connected civilization, which brings us to the biggest question of them all. Where did they go? A huge part of the mystery is locked away right here. This is their writing, the Indus script. We've managed to identify 419 unique symbols, but we can't read a single one. Without their written records, their story remains totally silent. Seriously, the only clue we have is that they wrote from right to left. And we only figured that out because you can see how characters get squished at the end of some lines. Beyond that, their language is a complete and total enigma. And the physical evidence is just as confusing. For a city that might have had up to 100,000 people at its peak, archaeologists have only ever found 37 skeletons. 37! There's no sign of a huge battle, no evidence of some single catastrophic event, so where is everybody? Well, the leading theory isn't a dramatic collapse. Most experts believe the decline was slow and gradual. The main cause was likely a slow migration away from the cities, maybe driven by things like climate change messing up their farming, or even the Indus River changing its course. So what this really means is that the people of Mohenjo-Daro probably didn't just vanish into thin air. Instead, they just moved away over centuries, blending into other cultures all across the region. Their legacy didn't end, it just became part of the DNA of the civilizations that came after them. And that brings us to this one, final, absolutely staggering fact. For everything we've learned, for all the marvels we've uncovered, we've only scratched the surface. A full 90% of this massive city is still buried, its secrets just waiting to be discovered. Which leaves us with this final, tantalizing question. With 90% of the city still buried, what other secrets are lying down there, waiting for us? Maybe the key to finally reading their language, or the true story of the priest king, or maybe even answers to questions we don't even know to ask yet. The story of Mohenjo-Daro is far from over.